today we're talking about Penny Dreadful. Penny Dreadful is a series that was inspired by and shares the name of a 19th century publication called Penny Dreadful, which was a series of short stories that introduced viewers to some of the gothic characters that we still make movies about today. They read about vampires and werewolves and demons. And the premise of this TV show was, what if back in the 19th century, these were not based on fiction? What if these stories were inspired by real characters? It stars Josh Hartnett, Eva Green, and Timothy Dalton, and it was produced by Sam Mendes of the American Beauty fame. If you're a fan of period pieces like Peaky Blinders, and I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, but Gary Oldman was incredible as Dracula. If you combine those two series, that's what you can expect in Penny Dreadful. This is the first time I'm going to give something 5 bald berries. If you're interested in this type of material, you have to watch this show. I gave this 5 bald berries, but I got to be honest with you, I can't imagine not. It was perfect. The story was perfect. The acting was perfect. The cinematography was perfect. I'm not a big horror fan, but I don't know if you could necessarily call this horror. There was love, there was suspense. Yeah, there was a lot of really scary moments in it, but you're dealing with these gothic characters that we grew up with. And, it kind of reminded me when I was young, I started reading Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles. And what really blew me away about Anne Rice's writing was she was the first author that I read where she was writing from the monster's perspective. She was writing from the perspective of the vampire, like grappling what it was like to be a vampire, from turning from a human into a vampire and dealing with what that was like taking a human life and the torture that it was having to live forever and watching people that you cared about die. And you got that same feeling from this show. And it was creepy, but it was also beautiful. And man, I can imagine myself watching this show over and over again. And I was so disappointed when they only had 3 seasons of it. But it turns out that was the intention from the beginning. I just can't recommend this show enough, even if you're not a fan of scary horror movies. I mean, I stay away from stuff like, I think the first show that really ruined it for me, the first movie, was Hostel. Like, I used to like scary movies when I was younger, but when I saw Hostel, I was like, oh my God, okay, this is enough. I never want to see anything like this again. And, just like gore for gore's sake, I'm not into that. But I am into, really stylized, gothic kind of scary but fascinating characterization of these whether it's the Mummy or Dracula or the werewolves or demons. I'm really into. Now, don't get me wrong. I will still close my eyes at some scary moments, but I really just love the storytelling in this show, and I think you will too if you give it a chance. So make sure you watch Penny Dreadful. I can't imagine that you'll disagree with me.